Hello everyone, and welcome to SpiritMonkey. Today's episode is on technological magic, or cybermancy, which is sort of a new magical paradigm. And since we are advancing in technology at such a rapid pace, I believe that magical craft is also evolving alongside it. Now, a lot of people might think that technology and magic cannot be reconciled, that instead you have to commit your life to a temple or somewhere in the wilderness and stay clear of anything technological or modern, as it is commonly seen as negative. But to be honest, I think this is not true. In my own experience, I have seen that the forces also work through technology, and this is basically just a small video on some of the ideas behind technological magic or cybermancy. So, let's jump right into it. A more recent form of magical craft entered the scene and is becoming ever more prevalent. This craft is known by a variety of names, but is most commonly known as cyber or techno-magick or mancy. For this video, it will simply be referred to as techno-magick. Now, different claims as to the origin of this craft have been made, the most common being certain forms of witchcraft and chaos magic. However, techno-magick is practiced by practitioners of a bunch of different schools, and therefore is not limited to any particular school of magic. In fact, a lot of the schools of magic stem from a time when technology was not available. Now, techno-magick, as the name suggests, is the use of technology in magical craft. Since the craft is relatively new, there is no set system, but is free, evolving, and doing so at quite a rapid rate. In this video, some aspects and uses of cyber magic will be discussed in terms of how the magical community has been using it. Now, this must not be confused with what's known as the information model of cyber magic, as is described by various practitioners, including Frater UD in his book High Magic, where the universal force of magical energy is described as a network of data or information, which can then be programmed, parts of it deleted or added onto. Now, instead, this video will discuss the use and application of technology in magic. In the modern age, the use of technology is only growing. It has become a part of everyday life for many years now, and it encompasses multiple facets of it, at least in parts of the world where technology is commonplace. For many, it is difficult enough to keep up with the trends and rate of technological evolution on its own. Now, when this is coupled with techno-magic, it is clear that this craft will not become stagnant anytime soon, and as all forms of existence will continue to evolve. This is an exciting concept for the generally younger generations who have grown up with technology at hand, especially those who have been tricked into believing that spirituality and technology cannot be reconciled. Forced to believe that any true practitioner of magical arts have to seclude themselves from society and simply enter the wilderness to meditate for years on end before progress can be made. That is of course an extreme case. Now, this is clearly not true if we look at the trends of how technology has been able to spread spiritual and magical wisdom. In the modern age, any grimoire, tomb, or specific magical exercise is only a click away, while in the past, travelers had to spend years journeying from place to place to find a certain book or just learn a little bit at a time. We are quite lucky to live in this age where most of the people on the world are connected on this network, and that we can really learn a lot from everyone else also openly talking about their practice. This is quite a blessing, in my opinion. Now, the use of technology in magical practice come in quite many different forms, while many practitioners keep advancing and adding new interesting ways of using it. Besides the typical use of technology as a simple storehouse or library of magical information, and its use as a logbook or digital book of shadows, many also use technology as a tool of divination, spellcasting, collective spellcasting or rituals, displaying symbols of power or simple sigils, and many more. Now, this only scratches the surface as to the possible magical uses available. As a method of divination, for example, the practitioner can be drawn to certain parts of the web by simply intuitively clicking on links or following their own intuition. As with all forms of divination, the interpretation and guidance are provided by this intuition, also known as a spirit body or higher self, or whatever you'd like to call it. As for channeling information from within or without oneself, automatic typing can be used, just as automatic writing has been used for very many years. It is the same forces and capability of magical energy that is simply transferred into a new paradigm of tools. For the practitioner that grew up close to technology and the internet, it will be easy to see or to find examples of how these tools can be harnessed in magical practice. However, of course, if the practitioner is not very efficient with technology and for the most part tries to avoid using it, then clearly other methods, means and tools are more effective for that certain individual. Now, following is some examples of ways in which technology can be used for magical practice. The exact ways of entering the applicable states of mind and using your own intuition will not be discussed here, as you can find enough information on that anywhere you go. Now, these examples include, firstly, a digital book of shadows, dream journal, or a library of your mysticism. Secondly, as another example would be automatic typing. Thirdly, using technology as a form of divination. Fourth is digital spellcasting. Fifth is using sigils and cymbals in an online or digital environment. And of course the final one is global ritual, since it is a globalized network. Now, the first example of how techno-magic can be utilized is through a digital book of shadows, dream journal, or library of mysticism. In most schools and esoteric practices, one is required to keep a journal to document any spell work or magical practice that the practitioner conducts. This is done so as to later log the outcome of the spell, and provides great insight into where alterations are to be made and what the outcome was of the spell. It also provides a fantastic look into your own personal state of mind at that time. Often these journals are separated into multiple books. For example, you'll have one for spellcraft in particular, then one for dream journaling, or another example is a personality mirror, where you log the good and bad sides of yourself and try and work on yourself from there. Now, the technological world also provides a convenient way of logging these encounters. This can either be done by simply creating the documents in some folder on your computer, or it can be kept online by, for example, creating a free blog site that can only be viewed by you personally. Now, when it is saved online, there is of course no risk of losing the information gathered over time in some strange accident. Now, the logs are kept safely in an online cloud, and you'll always be able to find it there wherever you go. Of course, if you're logged onto the internet. Now, all books that the practitioner uses can also be stored digitally, which is very useful for anyone who uses a Kindle or tablet. In essence, the entire library that you have built can be stored digitally and carried along with you wherever you go. I find this personally very, very useful. Of course, there are a few things as beautiful as having a real book. However, this is sometimes impractical, especially for those who travel a lot. Secondly, let us have a look at automatic typing. Now, automatic writing is a very old form of channeling the inner and outer intelligences in communion with the practitioner. Now, unlike a form of possession, the practitioner simply gives over a portion, not fully, to whatever is being channeled. And in the case of automatic typing, instead of having a pen and paper at hand, a keyboard is used, and the messages are received simply through typing. This is of course not an easy task for the novice practitioner. However, as with all methods and forces, it will only become more powerful over time when practiced. Now, as Ian Stevenson states in some comments on automatic writing, published in the Journal of the American Society for Psychical Research, he says that the term automatic writing is used to designate writing that is done without the writer being conscious of what he is writing, or occasionally even of the act of writing. Now, this is a form of channeling, and whether one does it through writing, art or typing, the force remains the same, while simply the instrument differs. In my experience with automatic typing, I find that it happened a lot by accident, and has, in every case so far, provided some valuable insight, whether I simply take to heart what I wrote, or if I accidentally typed it into a search box and then follow my intuition from there. I think it is a very powerful tool, and for the most part it is disregarded as simple coincidence or randomicity. In my experience with magic, that's not the case. Third up, we have divination. Now, divination through TechnoMancy can be related to other forms of divination, such as bibliomancy. Now, bibliomancy involves the use of books, where the practitioner seems to be intuitively guided to a certain phrase in a book. This phrase is then interpreted and related to the divined situation. Again, the practitioner's personal intuition or higher guidance is utilized for direction and interpretation. Now, this happens accidentally quite often, where the phrase or number, especially, reveals valuable insight into themes that have developed in one's life for a period of time. In a techno-magic sense, this intuitive guidance remains, while the medium changes to the internet. And since such a large variety of books, articles, videos, and a lot more are accessible on the internet, there is an array of possibility or outcomes or phrases or videos that might give you that little bit of insight or give you something that seems beyond coincidence, which will be clearly synchronicity. Now, this does take practice. However, the development of intuition as a sense of knowing, for the lack of a better word, is key to any form of divination, just like it is to a lot of forms of magic. Next, we have digital spellcasting, which can come in quite a variety of useful forms. However, as with all forms of spellcasting, the possibility is limitless and can be designed by the individual practitioner and still be very effective. It is a continual practice that will reveal ever more ways of utilizing technology alongside magic. But for example, a spell that acts as a magnet for the appropriate people to find a certain site or article or whatever can be cast. Or a spell can be cast specifically designed to find something in particular, such as an item, or a person that may aid you in whatever manner you desire. Thus, any spell can be cast onto the digital world, as one would on anything else. On the other hand, the digital can aid in spellcasting itself, in its basic form by using it as your book of shadows when conducting a ritual or casting a spell, or by, since you might as well be able to, play appropriate music, whether it is hypnotic or a mantra, or whatever sound for the mood or purpose of the spell you wish. Now, this value cannot be understated, as there is a multitude of music producing appropriate frequencies and harmonies, easily accessible for personal use and even designed with specific purposes. And you'll find this especially when it comes to harmonic frequencies in music and meditation, for example, or to get yourself in the applicable state of mind, even if it's just witchcraft music. I understand that quite a couple of practitioners will not necessarily agree with me here, who prefer to do it in silence or to prefer in greater groups to create their own music or moods. But for the individual practitioner, I find this to be of exceptional value, and I'm not the only one. Now, next up we have Sigils and Cymbals, which is quite a fun one. Now, symbols and sigils can be used by simply placing them in specific places that other people online might be able to see, either blatantly or somewhat disguised, such as on a website, your avatar for your profile, an art site, or simple digital signature that you use in forms or on an email, just to name a few. Now, this is a very useful tool, as sigils and symbols can be used for a multitude of purposes, just like a spell would. For example, it might be a symbol of protection, attraction, healing, or any other function that you, the practitioner, wishes it to be. Now, the constant presence of the sigil will continually serve its function. The purpose might even be to evoke a certain emotion or thought subconsciously into those that see it. Again, the designer of the symbol or sigil determines its function, and therefore can be creatively designed and applied in various manners, as long as the appropriate energy and steps go into the empowerment of a sigil or symbol. Now, of course, in conventional sigil craft, one of the popular things to do is eventually to destroy and forget about the sigil completely. In my experience, it is effective depending on what you want the sigil to do. If you want it to simply enter the subconscious mind and stay there, then destroy the sigil. However, I've found that sigils are also quite powerful if they are not destroyed and constantly displayed. And with this constant display, it is a constant reminder to your conscious and of course your subconscious mind that the sigil is there and the effect continues to permeate through you and through whoever sees it. So, I find that to be a really fun way of using magic in a digital way. Finally, I thought it a good idea to mention global ritual. Now, the global interconnectivity of people is practically instantaneous with modern internet structure. Now, granted, we are connected by more than just the World Wide Web. For example, Indra's web, if you are into the Eastern philosophies. From this network, we clearly see all manners of mystics, mages, witches, wizards, monks, druids, and all the rest connecting globally with one another. They share their insights, will and wisdom in both organized groups and through loose practitioners. Now, with this interconnectivity, these practitioners are able to find the community and knowledge that they seek from all manners of people. A group spell or ritual can then easily be cast by people separated by vast distances. Thus, each participant does not have to be in the same place, as long as the ritual still is collectively performed and each individual really understands how the ritual works and if that ritual resonates with them. And this does not necessarily have to be a ritual, but can also be simple forms of mass meditation. Now, many mystics may argue against the idea of not sharing the same space when performing the ritual, and granted it is somewhat limiting on the ritual. However, this is still a great advancement in my opinion. Now, the lone practitioners who do not want to be part of a particular sect or school are able to connect and perform the rites that they wish. Greater organized meditations, prayers, rituals, etc. can be sent out on the network to try and have massive numbers of people casting the same spell or producing the same intent if they agree with it. Now, there are of course other limiting factors, since each individual may have their own way of seeing or using the magic. However, they can still connect and yield proper results. I cannot overstate the value of this interconnectivity between magically minded people. We are in a time now when all those who have an inclination towards the psychic or mystic side of life have information available to them to explore. This creates less of a need for certain closed-off mystical sects that a lot of people who have an inclination towards the psychic realm are sort of forced to join, in the sense that there is not necessarily enough information available to satisfy their curiosity and to boost their practice. But with the global interconnectivity, anyone is now able to do this, and you'll find that there are a lot, if not more, individual practitioners out there than there are in certain mystic sects or schools. I do not want to downplay the value of a mystic school or sect. However, those groups must realize that not everyone is interested in joining their group because it does not resonate with who they are. Thus, each individual is now able to build up their own system of magic, and I think that is very, very important. A lot of practitioners might disagree with me there, but too bad. In conclusion, we are entering a new paradigm of global interconnectivity and information through the use of technology and the internet. Along with this shift, the knowledge base and opportunity to learn about the forces used in magic has grown exponentially. It provides freedom of thinking and expression to all magically minded individuals, and has therefore evolved at a rapid rate. The very tools we use for this powerhouse of information and connection can be used for magical purposes that were not present in the near past. This has created a new paradigm of techno-magic, with diverse and many unexplored methods and possibilities of its use. It is a pity that some will frown upon the mutual use of technology and magic, stating that the two may not be reconciled. However, perhaps this mindset towards magic is outdated. Perhaps freedom of craft and of spiritual information is required as we enter what is commonly referred to as the New Age, or whatever you want to call it. But with all this said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you might be able to start using some of this techno-magic. And please, if you have any new, funky, interesting ways of using it, feel free to leave a comment, because, as I said, this is an evolving paradigm of magic. And because it's evolving, it's ever free and growing. So I'd love to hear from some of you what your experience might be, and if you've used TechnoMagick before. But with all this said, thanks a lot for watching, and peace out, good people of Earth. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please click like and subscribe. Also check out our main webpage, spiritmonkey.me, for a lot more interesting articles and links to all the other pages. And also check out our Patreon page. If you feel like giving $1, please do, it's all appreciated. Other than that, have an awesome day. Cheers.